Thanks for joining us. Those of you who live in Brooklyn Park could soon have new limits on how many pets you can keep at home. Police say the proposed rule change comes after people bought more dogs than they could handle during the pandemic.
Everybody seemed to get dogs, so the animal complaints just seemed to go through the roof. And quite honestly, our community's capacity to care for them animals deteriorated.
The Brooklyn Park City Council approved a first reading of an ordinance enacting new pet limits this week. It would set a limit for dogs and cats at 3 per property. It's an attempt to crack down on backyard breeding and reduce the number of strays. The city began considering the policy after several serious dog attacks last year. Police say indoor pets like fish and birds won't be targeted for citations. The council will have one last chance to weigh in on the policy during a second reading. If it's approved, it will also require any stray animals picked up by police to be microchipped at the impound. The animal's owner will have to pay for that procedure. Meanwhile, Brooklyn Park police say they had to temporarily close part of County Road 81 Tuesday to arrest a man who had threatened to shoot people. Police arrested the suspect in the middle of County Road 81 near Brooklyn Boulevard. Northbound County Road 81 was briefly shut down just after 11 a.m. Police say the man had returned to the Luther Brookdale Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram dealership, where police say he threatened to shoot people a few days ago. When police arrived, the man resisted officers and ran off across 81, leading to a large police presence in the area. A bill to pause the Blue Line extension project has now been put on pause itself. Representative Kristen Robbins of Maple Grove is the bill's chief author. Her bill would have paused Blue Line work from Minneapolis to Brooklyn Park until the Southwest line is completed, which is expected to happen 2 years from now. Representative Robbins argued that bus rapid transit would be a more cost-effective alternative. Representative Mike Freiberg of Golden Valley says light rail has been studied extensively for this corridor, and delaying it would only increase costs.
We need bus rapid transit in this corridor because it's more flexible. It will meet the needs of the community as development changes, as commuting patterns change, as opportunities change around the metro.
House File 14 would not return any substantial amount of funding to state coffers, but it would artificially inflate costs borne by the taxpayers of Hennepin County by approximately $200 million. In other words, all this bill does is burn millions of dollars in an attempt to make a political point about fiscal responsibility.
68 votes are needed for a bill to pass off the House floor. However, the Blue Line bill could only muster 67 votes, the number of Republicans serving in the House. All DFLers voted no. The Plymouth City Council is expected to decide next month whether to expand the areas allowed for standalone tobacco shops. This map shows the areas that would be allowed for tobacco stores if a zoning ordinance text amendment is approved. Under the amendment, standalone shops would be allowed along highway commercial areas, which is the case in other cities. Plymouth planning officials say it's uncertain why they're not allowed along highways, but are allowed in neighborhood commercial areas.
The first question as to why tobacco or smoke shops were not permitted in the C3 zoning district, we don't know why.
A business owner is considering a highway property for a future store, which is why the issue came up. Some planning commission members had concerns about the potential expansion of tobacco sales, but in the end recommended approval on a 4-2 vote. The Plymouth City Council will have the final say. A beloved Mexican restaurant is making its return to the Twin Cities, and one of its locations will be in Maple Grove. Michael McDermott is the son of the founder of Chi-Chi's Mexican restaurant and is its new owner. He told multiple media outlets that a rebuild of the chain will start with 2 Rojo Mexican Grill locations in the metro. One of those locations is in Maple Grove at the Shops at Arbor Lakes. It's expected to be remodeled and open as Chi-Chi's this fall. The other location will be in St. Louis Park. Golfers in Minnesota can't play year-round, but that doesn't mean they have to wait until spring to work on their game. In this edition of Business Matters, we step inside a new golf training facility in Plymouth that lets people practice 24/7.
So I'll hit one here.
In Minnesota, practicing your golf game during the winter months used to require some creativity.
I think like swinging in the garage, swinging in the basement, and swinging without hitting a ball or swinging and hitting like a rolled up sock or a foam ball was really the only option that people had.
But thanks to advancements in technology and people like Justin Kraft,
We can view this swing.
that's no longer the case.
We can move this avatar.
Kraft is the 28-year-old mastermind behind Kraftygolf Studio,
You can move the ball around and hit different shapes and shots.
a
And
new 2,500 square foot mecca in Plymouth for anyone trying to become a better golfer.
so when you walk in the door, my goal, my mission is it's impossible not to get better when you're in here because there's feedback in every realm of the facility.
Kraftygolf Studio features 3 hitting bays equipped with cameras and monitors
It's doing a little replay right now
to help people analyze their swing
because it's getting all this data, right?
using precise data and video analysis. Kraft works full-time as a golf instructor, but opening this studio was another way he could offer assistance to folks who love golf.
It feels like the one sport where you could sit there and even if you try harder, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get better, right? So I'm trying to bridge that gap a little bit and just make it easier for people to get better.
The Minnesota Golf Association says that golf has an economic impact in the state of more than $3 billion, meaning that there's a strong demand for public and private courses and places like this.
I mean, I think golf is huge and it's growing since the pandemic. I mean, it was the sport you could play outside and, there's no like physical demands. Like anyone can play it, any height, weight, strength, like whatever, you can play golf. So I think that's the beautiful thing. And that kind of helps you search for a feature.
The one thing about golf is that perfection can never be attained. But the technology here at Kraftygolf Studio will give people the tools they need to get on par with where they want to be.
The reason we built the whole place was because we wanted to see golfers improve.
The studio is available anytime, day or night, for people who sign up for a membership. Prices range between $99 to $299 per month.